Yo, trade review for last Thursday and Friday was a holiday, so the market was closed on Friday and today, which is a Monday, right? Yeah, let's get into it. I don't have my levels marked out for what the hell? Yeah, I don't have my levels marked out for Thursday because I delete them every day. So I'm just gonna go off of memory, what I remember from Thursday. Right. Okay. So basically, Wednesday had a move down. The first move down in a while. Breaking the sorry, so on the hourly chart. We didn't see all this. Basically, I was talking about this compression, failed breakout, and then a move lower. The thing is, Wednesday afternoon, it took out the internal sell side liquidity here, flushed it, flushed lower a little bit, but then reversed at the end of the day. And throughout the entire pre-market session on Thursday, the Asia range, it just continued to drift higher. So coming into Thursday, um, where is it? Let me just go on the minute chart so it's easier. All right. So coming into Thursday, there was news, right? So there was 7:30 news. And so I had the data highs marked out and London highs. Basically, my thought process was that I believe the draw was still lower, but price can continue to, drift higher for a bit until it's ready to move lower. So I wasn't really interested in any shorts until I saw a clear displacement and a market structure shift, right? Um, so I think around these levels is Asia lows, right? And that's going to be a key level later on, right? Okay. So my first trade was shortly after the market opened around 8:45 right here. Basically, my thought process was that um, market like had an impulse move lower right at the open um, on this gap up, right? So what I was thinking was that, all right, people are selling into this gap up, but I think that if there is going to be a move lower, targeting these like, you know, low resistance liquidity run conditions where it's like stacked lows. I think we're going to have a retracement back into here first um, before that. And also the hourly chart at this time, this was full. So all I was expecting was just like either the next candle to open and there'd be like a kind of a manipulation wick higher. That was what I was targeting, a quick long. And also because the tilt was so negative at that moment, and I don't think that the market was ready to commit. So I took a long here and with a stop below the lows, just targeting like a move higher into VWAP into this Civi, but then I got stopped out, right? Um, I took a it made a new low and it ended up reversing to my target. Um, how would I rate this trade? I would rate this trade like I would say like a five ish, like a yeah, like a five. Um, So the reason why I was interested in this trade was because it swept um it swept Asia lows. So Asia lows was right here. I mean, it didn't really have like a strong sweep, but it took some liquidity, some sell side liquidity. So my thought process was that, all right, I think it's gonna make like a fake like a like a fake low and move higher because it already took some sell side liquidity and around this time it could be setting up for the next hourly manipulation wick to ultimately target lower, right? I'm a firm believer that price needs to move higher, manipulate higher before moving lower. Um, yeah, so the idea was all right, but I think, the best trades are when your internal draw aligns with your external draw, when your short-term bias aligns with your long-term bias. So I shouldn't try to like be, Mr. Perfect and try to play the longs and then the short afterwards. I think I should have just stuck to the longs. I mean, stuck to the shorts, where just let the market manipulate wherever it wants to manipulate, and once it reverses, you catch the downside with a lot more conviction. Um, I mean, the idea ended up working out even though I got stopped out. That doesn't make it a good trade. In the long term, like I think there's definitely some EV in this trade, but it requires perfect execution. And like once again, I always say like I don't really consider myself a perfect trader. So I should take the easier trades and not try to take these harder trades that requires much better execution. So yeah, I'd say like a five. There is some EV, but not the type of trades that I want to take as of right now. Second trade was a premature short. Basically, you know what? Let me just turn on my executions. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Second trade was a premature short, as you see right here. Um, wait, what? Oh, yeah, right. So, this is the 9 a.m. candle open. Basically, my thought process was that, all right, so price came back. Um, was there a breaker block here? I think there was. Um, hmm, you know what? Some people, some people called it like a breaker block. I wouldn't really consider this a breaker block. Um, yeah, I wouldn't really consider this a breaker block. I would just think of it as like a break and retest. Basically, there's these lows here that, there was some wicks higher on news and then moved lower, broke this low, came back. I'd say just like a breakout retest order block, maybe. Not really a breaker block. So basically, my thought process was that um, we're in the hourly manipulation wick, and ultimately the drawn liquidity is still lower towards these stacked lows, low resistance lows. Right. So as soon as I saw this candle be bearish, I took the short, but I got stopped out literally a minute later. Um, yeah, got stopped out a minute later. I think it was premature looking back on it now because, right when the 9 a.m. candle opens, like, I mean, I noticed this before. I don't really want to take a trade right at 8:45 open or 9 a.m. candle open or 9:15. Like, these candle opens, like, they're very prone to manipulation. Um, and so I mean, just waiting like 1 or 2 minutes afterwards could give you a much better entry. So I got stopped out, 35 points. Um, and then at this point right here, I was able to get a much better entry. So I entered this again with a stop above here or here, um, targeting these stacked lows, right? Or at least just Asia lows. Um, yeah. So I held that trade. I think it was around like 80 points, 80 points right here, all the way down to the new lows. I think this was Asia lows. And so my ultimate target was like these stacked lows and also this inefficiency. So basically my thought process was that everyone sees this big inefficiency, um, this big like, Bissy. But I thought that this like a big Bissy within this because the large time frame is just in a large range. So a big Bissy in a large range where I think order flow is bearish. I think it's like it's wrongfully respected, so it's gonna get ran through. And so I'm basically trying to fade everyone that's trying to respect this BISI. Yeah. But at this point right here, the short percentage was so high. It was like 70 something. It was like 70% short, 30% long, or something like that. Um, and usually like, the short percentage doesn't really like affect me that much. Um, but I do notice that like whenever the short percentage is high and we just took some sell side liquidity, or some buy side liquidity, like it's better to take some of your profits off, because it's more likely that you will have a pullback. So that's exactly what I did. I took my profits off here. One thing I could have done better was just to like trail like the trade with the 9 MA, right? Or the 5 MA if I wanted to be tighter. Um, yeah, that's what I could have done. And I mean, this happens all the time where, all I have to do is trail against the 5 or the 9. It's just, I would say the most like clear reason why I didn't was because, I had these two previous losers and I kind of wanted to recoup my capital. Um, you shouldn't really let your previous trades affect your new one. Um, but I'm human and that's what I did. Um, I'm going to be working on that, moving forward. But yeah, that is the mistake that I made. I want to be honest with myself. And so, yeah. Um, but then once I saw it get rejected off of the 9, um, and also this like move right here was I was also watching the 1,000 tick chart, and this move right here was also pretty bearish on the 1,000 tick chart. It was at the 21 SMA for the 1,000 tick. So after it rotated below that, I was like, okay, this trade has a high chance of continuing to, at least take these lows right here. So that's what I held for. I took the short off the 9 and then I took my profits right off here. So I could have held this trade a lot longer, kind of let it flush below, the sell side targets. Um, yeah, honestly, like a good exit would have been watching volume and looking for the volume climax right here. Or like you could have just trailed it with the 9. That would have been perfectly fine as well. And you would have gotten like how many more points? Um, like 50 more points. Like that is a meaningful impact to P&L. And so that's something that I really need to focus on, in the future, where basically if my ultimate sell side target hasn't been hit, I should try my best to hold it against the 9, or the 21. But, that all really depends on how well I manage my losers. Like if I don't have these like initial losing trades, I feel like I'm in a much better spot to capitalize on the good trades when they come. Um, yeah. Yeah, so basically just focusing on cleaning up my trading style. Um, yeah, so that I'm more predisposed to catching these winners and maximizing on these winners because I'm leaving quite a bit on the table. Um, yeah, but overall, if you look at the graph on Thursday, it wasn't too bad. And my risk reward today was pretty good. Like when you compare winners to losers. So yeah, there was nothing on Friday because the market was open, and today's payout day for me. So, I've come up with a new rule where I really don't care on payout days. I'm just trying to secure a payout. I don't really want to mess around because, like, once you get into like a losing trade, like it's pretty tilting, and I can make some pretty bad decisions that could really spiral. So I don't really want to mess around, on payout days. I just want to get like a quick win and leave, right? So there's a unique opportunity, um, on Sunday Open. Basically, there was an NWOG, a large NWOG that happened, um, partially filled, and then continued lower. So my thought process was that, all right, if because here's the weekly chart. Obviously, it does wait. Hang on, take off this. Let me see. There we go. So obviously, it doesn't look like this right now, but it took out this weekly low, and so my thought process was that if price just opened up and already took out previous weekly low, um, I'm pretty sure there's going to be manipulation afterwards because it took out a sell side liquidity level. And I don't think the market wants to be too committal at the beginning of the week, especially when there's big news this week. There's Tesla earnings, Google earnings, Chipotle, a lot of big company earnings this week. So I don't think it wants to show its hand um literally on a Sunday. I think a lot of the moves here are manipulation, and so it should at least come back into partial NWOG, or like some manipulation higher, right? So it was literally my trade was literally a 1 minute trade. I got lucky, so if I turn on my trades again, I got pretty lucky. So I entered here. Um, Let me see. Yep. So as soon as this candle, so basically I was not expecting price to make a new low. Um, as soon as the green candle opened, I entered long, stopped below here, and I got filled out here just for 10 points, literally just for 10 points. And yeah, it ended up reaching NWOG, but I honestly don't care. Um, I was just trying to get my 10 points and for payout day. Yeah, this trade not really worth even talking about. Um, wasn't that good of a trade. Not something I want to take, in the long term, but I'm just trying to get a payout right now. And yeah, so here the main trades of the day. I took these trades on my Apex PAs, and then my funded futures. Right. So these were the main trades for the day. Basically, coming into the market. Well, let's actually look at my journal, so it's easier, right? Um, So Monday, um, consumer sentiment, new home sales and tech earnings this week. So there's a lot of right here. I said so. Yeah. So today was no news Monday, expecting the major moves to happen later on in the week. And you know this was previous week low has already been reached. But sell side, internal sell side hasn't been reached. So I'll go deeper into what I'm talking about with the internal sell side. Um, but basically a low-hanging fruit target has already been reached before the market has even opened. Um, yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind for right now. Yeah, this was the daily chart at the time. Yeah, so took the previous weekly lows. Um, and this was the internal sell side that I was talking about because if you go into like an hourly chart, the entire market was in just like a consolidation range. So, you know, yeah, yeah. All right, so weekly chart, already taken previous weekly lows. On daily chart, prices, rolling over from the 21 and slowly rolling over from the 9. The blue line is the 9. Do I think this move is a manipulation wick for the weekly candle? As in, do I think the price is gonna wick lower and then move higher? I don't really think that it has to be the manipulation wick. I think price can definitely go lower. Take out because I think this internal sell side liquidity is low hanging fruit. If price wants to take it out, I think it could take it out today. Um, and there's also a possibility that price just completely falls out and creates like a large red weekly candle. Um, and the thing is, if this is a manipulation wick and price wants to, make a low and then reverse higher, um, I would say it still would have to take out the internal sell side liquidity because it needs to generate some bearish order flow to take in order to buy up if it wants to reverse. So I think any reversals here has to be like a strong staged reversal. It can't be a weak reversal because that would just get shorted. Um, yeah, right. Mm, yeah. Oh yeah, I was also talking about like a turtle soup. So yeah, this is the 4 hour chart. This is basically what I'm talking about. Where price is kind of like in this entire range right here, and this is definitely low hanging fruit. Yeah, so I said path of least resistance is just taking out the internal sell side liquidity and also feeling this inefficiency below. Once again, like I think a lot of people are giving respect to these, large like bissies that they see, but in like a massive downtrend like we have on the weekly chart, the daily chart, order flow is bearish. I think it's a mistake to to respect these bissies because the higher probability thing is for these to get disrespected and completely filled out. Right. So coming into the day, the 15-minute chart, um, basically it's like a steady downtrend. If you look at it, it's been like steadily going lower. Um, yeah, so trending lower from NWELK all night, took PWL. Yeah, so since price was trending lower so easily, what I thought was that there could be like a manipulation higher at the beginning of the day. And the reason for that is that all the buy orders from over the weekend, and also people trying to buy the gap down. So the market was gapping down quite a bit, around like 1.5%. And if there's no immediate bearishness, like there is a high probability that price just has a little like manipulation pump higher at market open. Um, but ultimately, I think the draw is still lower. Yep. Oh, and also the antithesis was that prices could just crash down immediately during open if there's no strong buying, and immediate weakness. That was like one thing that I was worried about because then I would have to have a whole different entry model. Yeah, so thesis, I'm not expecting a reversal at this level, so I'm not expecting price to just completely like start going higher at this level, although it is a possibility. But I think the higher probability move is to expect a manipulation higher in the morning, followed by a move lower down to the drawn liquidity at internal SSL. Yeah, so expecting a manipulation higher, followed by a move lower, right? Antithesis was basically price just continues higher and higher and higher and manipulates for a few days. Yeah, so basically what I was acknowledging here was that price can continue to, just kind of drift higher before making a market structure shift and moving lower. That's definitely a possibility. Price doesn't have to take the drawn liquidity today. It didn't have to do that. But as you can see later, that is exactly what it did. So right now this is 8:35. Um, the 15-minute chart, basically, this was a brick block. Um, price was in a tight range, manipulated, and then distributed. So when price is coming back into this range right here, it's the 15-minute breaker block right at the open. This was exactly what I was the scenario that I laid out for my thesis. Basically, price is rallying into the open, and after the open, into this breaker block, hit the contour encroachment. This level was, I believe, a 61.8 as well of this PD array. So I was like, all right, um, price is rallying into open. There is a high chance that price reverses from here, right? But I want to wait for macro time because right now this was the timer here was 8:35. Just a few minutes after market open. There wasn't it was like a while till macro time. And so what I was thinking was that there is a chance that I missed the initial move lower, but there will probably be an entry during macro time. And that's exactly what you'll see I do later on. Yeah, so let's go into the chart. Um, it honestly looks really beautiful on the 1 minute chart. Um, yeah, because look at that right there. Right there. Like if you look at, this entire range, manipulation, distribution, retracement, continuation lower, right? This is honestly like a really like it looks so good. Um, yeah, so right here, price was coming back into the 15-minute breaker block. Once it broke these lows, because it was struggling here. Once it broke this with um a displacement and it broke the 9, I entered here. So I know I didn't want to enter before the macro time, but my thought process was that, all right, if I enter here before the macro time, I have to take a partial at sell side liquidity. So this sell side was just the yeah, so there was the ultimate sell side that I was targeting and this more internal sell side. Right. Yeah. So basically if I was gonna, because like I was expecting to have like an initial move lower and then an entry in 850, and that's exactly what happened. So the first trade that um I took a short as soon as it broke this with displacement, and then just took it all off at sell side liquidity. And I took those on my PA accounts for Apex, as you can see here. And it also looks a lot better on the 1,000 tick chart. Basically, it got back below the 21 SMA on the 1,000 tick chart. Um, where's the 5,000 tick chart? Where was it? I think it was like here. Yeah, yeah. So it looked a lot better on the tick charts. So I entered here and just took it off right at SSL, a little bit below SSL. So got a pretty good entry exit on that. Yeah, so that was the first trade, around 50 points. Oh no, a little bit over 50 points. Um, so made a little bit over $1,000 on each of the apexes. And then for the my funded futures, it's a little different. So yeah, so the first trade that I took was right here. So after I took this sell side, oh, and also another thing was that um, short percentage was so high at this level. Um, so I was like, all right, I think it's very prudent to take the profits immediately. Um, because short percentage is so high, it's not macro time yet. So like it's a very high chance that this displacement lower and this first impulse move lower is not sustainable. Well, it is sustainable, but I'm saying it's not. It's very prone to pullbacks. And if you're trading an Apex PA account, the last thing you want is to have a pullback when you're in a profitable trade because of the trailing drawdown, right? So I took it off all my positions here. And then when price came back into the 21 SMA, also I was monitoring this because if you zoom out, it looks like a BPR. Well, it is a BPR. And BPR usually get retested before moving lower. So yeah, I took my first short here. Um, Price moved lower, but then once it made the new low, I also saw like the short percentage was so high right here, and it wasn't even macro time yet. So I trailed my stop right above here, and then I ended up getting stopped out. But then the second trade on this account was right at 850. So right at 850, there was definitely an entry. Um, you can't really see it here, but this was uh, a small SIBI, a fair value gap, bearish fair value gap. If you drag it over, um, Let me just mark it out. Yeah. What the? All right. Yeah. So right, it gave you a good entry here. I mean, I wasn't expecting a move up to here. Like it could have done that, but I don't need to wait until then. Once I saw price started reversing here, I entered on this on the reversal lower. Um, and basically I knew that like you could easily put your stops above this level, but your target is much lower at these internal cells in this at this internal cell side liquidity because at this point when price has this negative this bearish of order flow um, made a breaker block, retested it, and it's looking to continue lower at the 850 macro. If the move is going to happen, it's going to happen now, right? And this is the perfect opportunity to just sweep the low-hanging fruit, which is the internal sell side liquidity. Um, so that's exactly what price did. Um, and yeah, I didn't trail to I didn't hold it all the way to full target. I just held it because I have a consistency rule on this account. So I just held it to the consistency rule. Um yeah, that's about it. Honestly, like all of my trades today, I would say were perfect. But that's just because my outlook and my bias on the market was honestly perfect. So it's pretty hard to, make some trading mistakes when your analysis is perfect. But what happens when your analysis is wrong? How you react to that? Like how much can you mitigate your losses? Could you even like scratch out a winner, right? It's not hard to make money when you're right, but how well do you manage when you are wrong, right? So I'm still gonna give myself a pat on the back today for, having a good analysis. Um, I gotta keep in mind that, it's hard to mess up when your analysis is correct. Um, yeah, but I'm still proud of how I managed this trade. Um, and these three trades here. It would have been a little cool to kind of hold to a final target. Um, and there's like optimizations that can be done, like with the 9MA, 21 SMA. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty content with that. Um, yeah, those are my trades for today and for Thursday. Looking forward to requesting a payout for my Top Step account so that I could start, actually trading on this account. And yeah, that's it.